right, Colin. Aaron Rodgers has still yet to sign with the Steelers or any other team for that matter. Throughout the offseason, Rodgers has been linked to the Vikings, with Minnesota having no more than lukewarm interest. According to Albert Breer, Rodgers pitched the Vikings on a one-year run at a Lombardi, assuring the team he'd be willing to play the role of mentor to J.J. McCarthy during that time. Now, that's important because Rodgers has never really wanted to be a mentor. We know that. We also know that Minnesota, I can tell you, really wanted to keep Daniel Jones. Ends up going to Indianapolis. In your opinion, Colin, what do you make of Rodgers' pitch to the Vikings?
I think it's the smart play. I honestly do. You know, I've said this for years and years in my business. Don't chase money, chase management. There's a sea of money. There's not a sea of good management. And I think he knows Minnesota, great owner, no chaos, excellent coach, great players. Aaron now is thinking about legacy. It would be a great place to go. He plays for a year. He was very good with Jordan Love. He wasn't Brett Favre. Brett Favre did not treat Aaron Rodgers well.
That's true.
Aaron always was more respectful of Jordan Love. Got to give Aaron credit for that. And I think Aaron does care. You know, I do think Aaron has fewer than Brady, but very strong relationships to the people he considers allies who really are loyal to him. Russell Wilson has very few over the course of his career. Aaron's got guys. So I think Aaron going there for a year, mentoring, and probably playing a lot is a great, I mean, it's so funny that Favre went to the Jets, then the Vikings. I think it's the play. I really do on that. Aaron doesn't have 4 years left. Aaron doesn't have, to me, 3 years left. Aaron's got a couple years left, and if you told me 2 in Pittsburgh or 1 in Minnesota, I would take the 1 with the Vikings.
My issue with the Vikings is that they've already put so much into J.J. McCarthy. That's my problem with the Vikings. They traded up to get him. He has 2 knee surgeries. They probably didn't think Sam Darnold would play at an MVP caliber level. Certainly not what he gave them last year. So when you have that much invested into J.J. McCarthy, now he's going into year 2. To have him sit a second year and to bring in Aaron Rodgers is a pretty tall order. And I think if you're Kevin O'Connell, you're looking at the future and you're seeing it in J.J. McCarthy. That's why I've never really bought into all the Aaron Rodgers Vikings hype.
But why does the future have to start now? Why can't it start?
Because the roster is built to win now, which I guess probably makes you think, well, maybe it's Aaron. Maybe it should be Aaron, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, listen, according to the story, Aaron pitched
1 year.
What I'm proposing.
Right.
Which is, listen, this is the best roster. I think Pittsburgh's fool's gold. Everybody told me, he's going to go to Pittsburgh. He's going to come out. They're having a big event in Pittsburgh. And it's like when he didn't show up to that big event, and I thought there was a chance of it, Aaron doesn't want to go to Pittsburgh. He's not a Pittsburgh guy. 2 needy receivers, defensive culture, bad O-line, lost Najee Harris. That's not who Aaron is. Aaron's too smart to make a dumb decision.
Minnesota also has the dome, which is nice.
He knows
Detroit
the division.
has the dome, the division. Yeah.
I think Minnesota for a year works.
Okay, this is just continues to be so funny because, like, something about this is just hitting weird to me right now. Because we've been talking about Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota for what, I guess like a month. I forget when like the peak of all of that conversation was. Probably like about a month. I don't know. Off-season time is kind of crazy. Feels like it was just like a couple weeks ago that the Super Bowl took place, and that was already 2 months ago. But you know, this idea, like, they're like, oh, I think that's the right play for Aaron. Yeah, obviously. You want to go to a stacked roster with an awesome coach, awesome coordinator, defensive coordinator, awesome offensive head coach, you know, amazing weapons, like upgraded O-line now, you know, should have a continue to be a great defense. Like, that's, you know, like, what are we, like, obviously, like, right, like, clearly. And also, not to mention, when you're talking about a quarterback who's already established, whether it's Aaron or anyone else, like, going to a team that now has a quarterback who they drafted who's never played a day, like, yeah, that puts you in the driver's seat, so to speak. So, I just, the idea that people are being like, oh, I think this is a good idea. It's like, really? You think it's a good idea for Aaron? Like, obviously, you have to look at it through the lens of the Minnesota Vikings. Like, that's the actual question mark. Every team, you know, every quarterback should want to play for the Minnesota Vikings, essentially. So it's just like, it's just, that's obvious decision. And that was always, and that would have always been the play, is Aaron Rodgers go there for a year, try to win, mentor McCarthy, JJ, and then boom, there you go. Like, so it's like, this isn't like a no, it's not like we're now discussing this like we're saying like, okay, this is what the Minnesota Vikings should do. They should trade back, and then they're going to get 2 draft picks, and they're going to use those 2 draft picks to leverage another trade. And it's like, guys, like this isn't, we're not doing rocket science here. Like this is very basic. Like literally, like 15-year-olds are probably having this conversation right now. Like, oh, Aaron Rodgers should go there for a year, and they can mentor JJ McCarthy. Like this is very basic. This is like this is not complicated at all. Which is why, again, the question that is actually complicated is, should the Minnesota Vikings do this? And now it seems like more people have warmed up to the idea of Aaron Rodgers actually going to Minnesota, because this is what I've been saying that Minnesota should do in the very beginning. And then you had a lot of weird pushback, like from Colin, like from John Middlecoff, Nick Ray, all the people, honestly. And then for whatever weird, bizarre reason, within the last week or so, you start hearing a lot of people warm up to it. Like even John Middlecoff is like, oh, he goes like, I'm surprised that, Aaron Rodgers hasn't signed with Minnesota already. And I was like, dude, I specifically remember listening to you say there's no chance Aaron signs with Minnesota. And I kept remember thinking like, oh, like, I don't know if that's the case. Like, I think that there's some legs, underneath this. So like, I'm confused how the public perception within the media now has slightly changed, which now makes me think that there's even more of a possibility of this potentially happening, and just the sheer fact that it's still being continued to discuss. Now, again, I understand why a lot of Minnesota Vikings fans are excited and want to start the JJ McCarthy, time, but like I forget what this guy's name is, honestly. But when he said, the Vikings, they're looking, Kevin O'Connell's looking for the future, and now Colin is like, well, why does the future have to start today? And it's just like, right. The answer though is like, what puts you, like, you're not looking to the future. It's what leads you to win a Super Bowl today. And everyone's kind of using Sam Darnold as this reference point, where they're like, look at all the success that Sam had, and with that experience, with that success, there's the feeling that like, hey, it's the system, it's the team, any quarterback can go in there and now do that. And the reality is that that's just not 100% true for many reasons. And I have already unpacked a lot of the reasons, but also the foundational reason for all of this is also just the sheer fact that Sam Darnold has now many years of actual concrete NFL experience. So it's just different. If this was like a possibility in some weird universe where Kevin O'Connell was able to just like pick up some random rookie who's never played quarterback in the NFL, right? Like they also drafted a quarterback as well for some reason, and JJ McCarthy, and they were able to make that quarterback look pretty good, even though everyone felt to their core that he was essentially like of a Sam Darnold level player, then that would be so much more interesting, because you could be like, look what Kevin O'Connell was able to do with a quarterback who's never played in the NFL. Like, that would speak a lot louder than being like, look, we've took a quarterback who's now been in the league for years. He's had success. Did he live up to the hype of when he was first drafted? No, but he had concrete success. And he was good enough that Kyle Shanahan wanted him, and even referenced him to, compared him to, I forget, one of the older 49ers quarterbacks. His name has completely escaped me. But and spoke incredibly highly of him, so much to the point that Kevin O'Connell, who I believe is an awesome offensive head coach, is like, I want Sam Darnold. Like, they're not just taking stragglers here. So the fact that even Kevin O'Connell wanted Sam Darnold should actually signal to you just how much he actually believed in Sam Darnold. And the fact that they paid him like $10 million, which I kept telling the Minnesota Vikings fans, Sam Darnold was always the play, not JJ McCarthy, because you do not pay that amount of money. There was not a single backup quarterback in the NFL that was that didn't, there was not a single quarterback that was making at least $6 million or more that didn't start. You just don't do that. You don't pay a quarterback that amount of money for 1 year and don't play them. It's just not what you necessarily do. You can make some arguments that, depending on the type of quarterback that you have, if you're more than willing to pay a little bit of extra money for a backup quarterback, but it's just not typically what you do. So there was always outside of JJ McCarthy just absolutely lighting the offseason on fire, which he did not do. He played well, but he did not do, because again, throughout the whole offseason, Kevin O'Connell kept saying, Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold, Sam Darnold. Every time they kept asking about, JJ McCarthy, he brought up Sam Darnold. You're only doing that if the play is to legitimately play Sam Darnold. So again, the fact that Kevin O'Connell believed in Sam Darnold just goes to show you how good Sam Darnold actually is, and that experience and what you can do with that experience with a high-level, great offensive head coach. So you have to deal with the fact that JJ McCarthy is going to be inexperienced. He does not have the experience. So you're going to go through growing pains, like I keep repeatedly saying about JJ McCarthy. And so that's why that is the biggest argument, where you're like, man, if we can bring a truly experienced quarterback and have him play within Kevin O'Connell's system, we know you can have through the roof success immediately. That is where Aaron Rodgers then becomes fascinating, because you're just kind of like, does he still have the juice? We know he has the experience. We know he will 100. Nothing will need to be translated. Nothing will need to be explained. Like, Aaron Rodgers knows how to run an offense. He knows everything there is, quite frankly, to how to play quarterback in the NFL. So now combining that with Kevin O'Connell, like, yeah, there is real potential for magic to be there as long as the physical traits are still there. And then the question is, Aaron Rodgers' leadership, his humility, and that's where then you have to just actually have the conversation with him, where it's like, do you feel like he's being authentic? Do you feel like once he's part of our team and he's following, behind the, does he fall in line? Is Kevin O'Connell truly the leader of this franchise, of this culture? And now Aaron Rodgers is just, he understands his place. And the only way you know that is by having conversations. That's why they actually have legitimate interviews, right? They actually really do just have conversations and, just talk with them, get a feel for them, and just be like, what is this going to look like? What are you looking for? And it's then the whole game is trying to gauge, like, are you being honest with one another, right? Are you both telling the truth, right? Is someone kind of keeping, some of their motives a little bit hidden? So, but this is a story that still keeps going. And like I said to Minnesota Vikings fans in my more recent, Aaron Rodgers Vikings video, like, I just wouldn't be so quick to just shoot this down as like, oh, well, the media is just trying, they got nothing to talk about, or, this is just Aaron Rodgers camp coming out with it. Like, it does still feel like there's still legitimate conversations around this, and it is there for a reason. So there is some reality to it. And so I just encourage Minnesota Vikings fans to just kind of, accept that, contemplate it, and just don't automatically reject it. Doesn't mean to say that it's going to happen. Doesn't mean that JJ McCarthy is not the future, but I really do think at this point the Vikings are taking these next couple of months to really gauge how healthy is JJ McCarthy, how does he look, can we insert him today, September 2025, and can he lead this team to a Super Bowl? And if not, and we actually reach the conclusion that Aaron Rodgers can, like, if you have a chance to get to a Super Bowl this season and potentially win it, you take that swing. You always take that swing. We invent these things as fans and biased media members as this idea that there's some sort of like extended Super Bowl window. I had an in-depth conversation with a lot of Detroit Lions fans about this, and they were kind of saying, because I was like, after they had a couple injuries, it was like, oh, like, make a play, make a couple trades, and go for it, go all in. You have such a dominant team, an exciting team. You're probably going to lose both your coordinators, et cetera, and they're like, we're not going to mortgage our future to try to win a Super Bowl this year. We're creating a 10-year window right now, and it's like, no, you're not. No, you're like, that's not the way the NFL works. If you have a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl this season, you do it. You go all in, you go for it. And mortgaging the future, people are confused by that. Mortgaging the future doesn't mean sacrificing the future. That's not, when you mortgage your future, it doesn't mean that your future now doesn't exist, or that it's bad, or that it's automatically bad. Like, that's not what it means. You're kind of like gambling it. You're kind of risking it to a degree, but you're not sacrificing. You're not getting rid of any chance of a positive, productive future. And so, if the Vikings went out and got Aaron Rodgers for 1 year, you're not mortgaging the future. You're not ruining J.J. McCarthy. And again, quite frankly, if bringing in Aaron Rodgers destabilizes J.J. McCarthy's confidence, etc., that's actually just a problem on J.J. McCarthy. It just is. It's one thing if they brought in, if there was this big conversation about some other random and they're trying to get, Joe Flacco off the couch. I know he's not off the couch now, but someone else, then I could understand maybe to a degree. But even Joe Flacco obviously still won the Super Bowl and within the last couple of years had legitimate success. So I can't even think of a decent example where it would be like, okay, I can kind of understand this, but it is still the Aaron Rodgers. And J.J. McCarthy is very intelligent, very grounded, and I think even he would understand, yeah, I get it. You have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers. This team won, 14 games last year. Yeah, I get it. I'm frustrated. I want to play. I want to be out there. I believe I can win, etc., but I get it. This is when we always say, the NFL is a business. The NFL is a business. This is the way it goes. So, and any reaction beyond that, then, like I said, would be a limitation of JJ McCarthy's maturity. And I don't think that is a limitation of him. So this whole idea of oh, they're going to mess with JJ's confidence in this or that. It's you don't have to baby him. You don't have to baby him. He's never given us this impression that he's this fragile person that we have to just really tiptoe around him. And sometimes you just got to have faith in that. So it's an interesting conversation. It's really the only interesting conversation to me about Aaron Rodgers and the Minnesota Vikings, because it's really the only situation that I think could be box off. It could actually be special. It could be a truly special combination. And I'm still fascinated by the idea of Aaron Rodgers now truly with an awesome, special, great offensive coach with an awesome roster with elite weapons. And this idea that hey, he did play pretty well, all things considered, with the New York Jets. And I think if Aaron Rodgers just had a better personality and was more popular and not so, shall we say, politically divisive for whatever reason, then I think more Minnesota Vikings fans would probably be interested in it. But also the fact that they've probably hated Aaron Rodgers for the last 20 years or so, because he's obviously was a Green Bay Packer. I'm sure that probably also play. It's kind of although Dak Prescott's obviously nowhere near as good as Aaron Rodgers, it's the idea of Dak Prescott going to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm pretty confident the Philadelphia Eagles rather have anyone else. They rather have Gardner Minshew than Dak Prescott. But Dak Prescott's also not a Hall of Famer and Super Bowl winner. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Aaron Rodgers still potentially going to the Minnesota Vikings? This whole idea of having a 1-year run at the Lombardi and mentoring McCarthy. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.